So we are done with the advertising portion of our lessons, and we're now going to talk about pricing and products. And when I talk about pricing, we're talking about the pricing range, the range of prices you're going to offer your products for. And I very much stress that this is all to do with psychology, right? There's a huge bit of psychology at plays when you price things, and the way people think and the way people buy products, and it's important to understand it that can help you to actually raise your prices. So when we talk about a price range, it's critical to the success of your business, right? Because if your price range is too wide, too low, it's not going to work. It's pretty refined. You've got to know what works and what doesn't. And the last thing you want to do is to have a situation where people only ever book you at your lowest costs. And that's to say, I'm very focused on psychology when it comes to pricing. Think about, where is your market? Where do you want to be in the market? Right? Do you want to be where the other photographers are? Where the kind of photographers in your area are? Or do you want to elevate yourself above them? The sub $1,000, $1,500 wedding photography market is absolutely flooded with competitors. And the more competitors there are, the more competition for you. I mean, I saw one today on Facebook, somebody saying that I can't make it to a wedding due to an injury. Is there anybody that's willing to do it for me? The budget's £350. You have got to be kidding. £350 to photograph a wedding. Absolutely diabolical, right? It's just ridiculous. You need to get yourself out of that market and into a marketplace where you're not in amongst that feeding frenzy. And the problem was when they posted that, there was like a dozen instantly posted, yeah, I'll do it. This absolute frenzy of photographers who will shoot weddings at any cost, right? Because one, they'll either not have much experience, or two, that's all they charge anyway because they've got another job and they don't need it. This is just a hobby for them. We need to make this a real business with real costs, so you get your wedding prices fixed accordingly. And you start at a sensible price in the marketplace. And I'll show you why it can be wrong to have too low a starting point. Because they said, yeah, I've got a low starting price to just get them interested, and then I get them to my high price. Well, let's take an example. Say your starting price was $495, but where you want to end up is $2,495, right? Now, so you get them from $495 to $2,495, which is what you really want. You've quintupled their original budget. They had in their mind, $495, that's the budget. That's all it costs us for a wedding photographer. Let's go. And you're trying to get them to $2,495. You've no chance. Like, you're quintupled their budget. There's no way they're going to walk out of there and book you for $2,495. But what if you start at $1,495? You go to $1,995, $2,495, same place as that first guy, and then $3,295, right? So to go from $1,495 to $3,295, that's only 2.2 times their budget, because you've said prices start from $1,495, so they think, but I've got a budget $1,495. To get them to $3,295, I'm just having to double their budget a little bit more. Okay, that's a bit much maybe. But to get from $1,495 to the $2,495 I wanted in the first place, that's just 1.6 times the budget. Can you see the difference here? So that's why it's important to have a higher starting price, because it will help you get to your actual target price where you want to be, and you're not having to try and grab them kicking and screaming for £500 up to $2,500, because that's not going to happen. But you can get them for $1,500 to $2,500 quite easily if you show them that you're adding value at each step. So when it comes to pricing, I always try and follow the KISS principle, which is keep it simple, stupid, right? Try and keep your price list as simple as possible. It is difficult to sometimes get away from that. We have a tendency to try and add things too much on, and just try and keep it as simple as you can. I mean, I even know myself that my price list wasn't as simple as it could be, but it worked for me because of the way I presented the prices. And how you have it is you have 3 basic price points to start with, but you allow for adjustments in amongst those basic price points, which we'll come to. So we have a silver level, we have a gold level, and a platinum level, right? So 3 basic choices. And that's how we would present it when people came in to see us, 3 basic choices. The silver is our opening bid, 1495, our gold is 1995, and the platinum's 2495. So they're thinking at this point, the highest price is 2495, right? And that's what we call basically the Marks and I call it the Marks and Spencer principle. You've got 3 choices: light, standard, or deluxe. You know, but what if we add in, and again I call this the McDonald's principle to this process. So you've got 3 choices. We're going to add in the McDonald's principle, which is we've got our light, our standard go large, and then our deluxe. You with me? So we've suddenly taken our standard one in the middle, and we said, would you like to go large with that? Because you're used to that happening all the time. We're not obviously not going to say you're going to go large with that, but it's the same principle. And then we add a super go large, which is what we call our grand product, the grande. You might never sell it, but you have it in your price list anyway. So that's your highest price one. In our case, it was the 3295 in this example. And you always have an odd number of price options because people will naturally converge to the middle. You know, you've got A, B, or C. What's the middle one? B. Right. That's the natural reaction to always to go to the middle. So always have an odd number of price options, because if you have an even number, the brain gets confused, and a confused brain says no. So keep it simple. So our silver album at 1495, our gold at 1995, our gold fine art, which is effectively our go large. So we're presenting them a gold album. They say, oh, by the way, we've got an upgrade to that album called the gold fine art. Then we had the platinum fine art, which is our platinum, and then we had the platinum grand. So there's our 5 price points. Really 3, we're presenting the silver, gold, and platinum. So silver, gold, platinum, 3 choices, but within the gold and within the platinum, there's 2 different go large options. You understand that? You see what I'm getting? So the middle one is where they're likely to land first, because that's human psychology at play. Yeah, I quite like to look at that one, the gold fine art. That's the middle price, right? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the go large principle and add-on principle to say, look, can we get you the platinum fine art? It's only £300 of difference. And you look at the difference here. You're getting an extra 10 pages. You're getting a beautiful cover on the album. It's a alumni cover, and we'll talk about this when we do a lesson on actual presentations. But you see, so we aim to get them to start off with the 2195, and in the process of the wedding planning, I'll get them up to 2495 at least, and that's my target point. So, now these prices I'm showing you there were based on mid 2010, so 2016, 15, 16. If I was doing this today, those prices would be higher. My silver would be 1995, gold would be 2295, fine art 2495, and platinum 2895, and then 3595. So I'd be adding a few hundred to each of these prices. So I'll be starting in 1995, today's market. If you're thinking in dollars, just multiply that by about 1.3, okay? That's what the dollar conversion rate at the moment is, the British pound. So our Tier 1 album, that first level, we called it the Silver Classic. It was quite a small 8x10 letterette, 20-page album. It was a very classic, simple design, four image grid layout. You maybe have one image using up the 4 image grid on one side and then 4 images on the other. You allowed for a tall, you could get a tall with 2 shorter ones, so you get 3 images on the page, that kind of thing. Very simple, so easy to design. And we would say, this album's designed for the budget-conscious bride. And you would hand it over, and you wouldn't say anything else. You just say, this is designed for the budget-conscious bride. Psychology. So you're telling them, this is for a bride who's watching her budget. She doesn't want to be told she's watching her budget, does she? Of course she doesn't, right? So she's going to discount that, and quite quickly you would see them would put it to one side. Right, and that generally it was $14.95. They would get 4 hours of coverage for that, no speeches, 125 images, right? So you're covering them from arrival at the church up to the point the speeches are, kind of getting ready up to the church. So 4 hours, whatever the 4 hours would fix, depending on the time scale. And we only did them Monday to Thursday, sorry. If they wanted to do this at a weekend, for a weekend wedding, we charged a surcharge. And the surcharge was enough to make them go to the next one anyway. So you see how it works. So our Tier 2 album, we're now at a real price entry point, really. The minimum I would hope to get for a wedding, the Gold Classic. For us, we used Loxley Classico 14x10 album, so a much bigger album compared to the one that we looked at before. 30 pages this time, same 4-image grid layout. And we say, these used to be very popular actually, but I can't remember when I sold one of these. So you just, again, sowing the seed. This isn't as nice an album as they used to be. $19.95, 6 hours of coverage, up to the speeches, plus a USB, pre-wedding. You get a pre-wedding shoot with that. Didn't get it with the previous one, and a signing frame. Tier 3, which is a middle one, remember? Gold Fine Art, we called it. A Loxley Classico, 14x10, 40 pages this time, but with metallic paper. And the reason we say metallic paper, this is where the fine art comes in, right? It makes it look different. Most of them have probably never seen metallic paper in an album before. And you go, oh, these really pop. And with my style of photography, the Weddings with Wow thing, our bridal portraits just jumped out of the page in these albums. So it was great for us, this metallic paper. Again, we always stuck to this 4-image grid layout because it's easy to design. We can knock an album out in half an hour, right? And again, we would say it, I'm using psychology, or this metallic paper is relatively new and it's simply amazing. So that's why you can justify when you're saying to them, I can't remember when we've sold one of these other albums before, because since we got the metallic paper and everybody's going for that, you see? And this one would charge $21.95, 6 hours of coverage, USB pre-wedding shoot, signing frame. Then our Tier 4 album, which is actually our target price. This is the price we want to get for every wedding, the Platinum Fine Art. It's the same album, exact same album as before, but the difference is it's 50 pages and it has an alumni cover. Now, alumni is Loxley's name for an aluminium, or aluminum if you're American, cover, and it has a high gloss, very high gloss image on the cover, and it looks outstanding. It looks absolutely amazing, and they're giving them 50 pages. And again, 50 pages, using psychology, 50 pages, that allows you to get all the images you want in your album. You're not really having to worry about what you're excluding. Same simple 4-image grid layout. Since we introduced this album, it has been our best seller, an absolutely stunning album. I'm sure you'll agree. And again, this is it. From the jump from the previous album to this one, it's only 300 quid of a difference. They're now going to get 8 hours of coverage, so they're getting an extra 2 hours. So they're going to get up to the first dance. They're getting an extra 2 hours. They're getting an extra 10 pages. They're getting this beautiful cover. It's an easy sell, right? It's an easy sell. This is how you get them up to your pricing ranges. You've got to give them little steps. It's just little step climbing, as airline pilots would call it. And then we've got our Tier 5 album. This is the one we call the Platinum Grande. It's on our list there. It's a big jump in price from what they get. It's actually only a 40-page album because that's the biggest this album can go, because it's actually one of these properly bound, it's hand-bound album, full leather, Loxley Apertura, where it's actually mounted images in cream mounts, overlays, what we call them. Again, same 4-image grid layout, and we call that the Rolls Royce of albums for the bride who wants the best. And it's $32.95, still 8 hours of coverage, same pre-wedding shoot, shining frame. It's a big jump from the previous one, but I don't care at this point, because if I get $24.95, I've got what I want for my wedding. If they then book this, happy days, you know. The cost of that album is a lot higher though, so my costs are higher. So I'm not instantly getting a difference of, what is it, £800 profit. I'm not. I'm probably getting an extra £400 profit, £500 profit because of the difference in cost with the album. So you've got to factor that in. Then we would have extras, a la carte things, and we didn't usually discuss these at the first meeting because you don't want to confuse people. A confused mind generally says no, right? So these are for later on in the discussion process, right? But there are extra profit opportunities for you. You can add coverage to a collection to First Dance for an extra few hundred quid. You've got additional hours. They always said overtime. Now we charged £150 an hour for any overtime, and this is how you control your time on the day. We work for a set number of hours. We're not just saying we're giving you all day coverage or coverage up to First Dance. We're giving them a set amount of hours. And what we do in the discussion is we work out when the wedding's going to finish, when's the first dance going to be, and we work backwards, and that defines our start point. And then at that point you say, well look, that's not going to work because we've done hundreds of weddings and we know that's now not how the time scale works on a wedding day, so you're going to need an extra hour or something. And then you'll say things like, you know, what will happen if the band turns up late, or the setup takes longer, or the speeches run on. We do have to charge for our time, obviously, as I'm sure you will appreciate. Would you want to add overtime at that time, or do you just want us to stick to the time we've agreed? So you just get up front, you're a business, you charge by the hour, right? We had a little slideshow we used to give as part of the presentation. If we wanted a duplicate, they could add that on for 60 odd pounds. Mini parents albums, supplied in pairs, £300 basically for a set of two. But if we added them at a time of booking, we'd charge £200. Now these albums just cost us just over £40 to get made. So it was an extra 160 profit in the pocket for a simple sale. Mini bespoke albums, they were little small paperback albums, came in sets of 5. Similar idea, perfect gift for bridesmaids and groomsmen. And similarly, quite an easy sell. The photo studio, because we had a photography studio anyway, we had this. One of the things we had was a little pop-up white highlight background, and we would offer to bring that along to weddings so they could get a photo booth. Now it's not the same as a photo booth that you're maybe typically aware of, but it's a similar idea. We've got some cheap props, sunglasses, and all that kind of jazz, and it was generally used it when we would have downtime anyway. We put it up during when the meal was on, and it was always in a high traffic area where people walking past, and would encourage guests to get fun pictures. And these fun pictures went into their set of photographs at the end, so they were quite happy. We would charge, you know, another £300 for that. And again, that was an easy one because we were there anyway, right? We also then obviously sold them wall art, and we would tell them our prices would start from £245, and I'll go on and in another lesson explain how you sell wall art for weddings. A lot of people forget about it. So that's how we did. That's how our pricing was set up. Yours will obviously be different, but I want you to follow that same type of principle, and most importantly, look for the gaps between your price points. Right? Think about it. It's all to do with psychology. Remember, so. The example I showed you at the beginning where somebody was starting at £495 and you're trying to get them to £2495, it's too much of a jump. But if you start higher, it's easier for them to get there, and it also keeps you out of that low end of the marketplace where there's hundreds and hundreds of photographers competing. You want to be in an area with little competition, and trust me, there is little competition in this higher price point, and it's much easier to work there. As long as your product is decent enough, you don't have to be the best photographer in the world, you just have to put some nice, decent images out. And that's all that matters. Okay, that's that lesson on pricing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something from it, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you.